Hello and welcome back to Tea with Triclaw and our regular, well, I say regular, semi-regular talk about chat. Obviously you've got me, Fletcher, here.
You've got me, Dane, and talk about chat, really.
And me, Sabre.
And today we're going to be talking about Bethesda's RPGs, because we were going to just spend an hour talking about why Fallout 4 is crap. But I don't... Although we could probably do that for an hour, I don't think it would be very interesting to listen to. So we're actually going to talk about the question, are Bethesda RPGs actually any good to begin with? Maybe Sabre, you want to discuss what why we are talking about this?
Honestly, I think when it comes down to this, I think a lot of people, they look back on when most of these games come out with like rose-tinted glasses, and they seem to forget that when almost all of Bethesda's RPGs came out, they weren't playable, really. Fallout 3, not playable. Fallout 4, buggy mess. Skyrim wasn't exactly flawless when it released. I mean, we can't really count New Vegas because they didn't make it, but...
Which version of Skyrim release are you talking about? The first one, the second one, or the 12th one?
All.
Yes, so I think a good starting place might be to discuss which of Bethesda's RPGs we've actually all played. I played Fallout. My first was Fallout 3. That was the first Bethesda RPG I played, and first Fallout game I played, actually. New Vegas as well, although it's not being... Although Bethesda didn't make it, they did publish it, so I think it's fair to include it here.
It's still basically the same engine.
It's basically the same game and engine.
I mean, publisher is effectively creating.
Played Skyrim, played Fallout 4, did not play Fallout 76, because you couldn't even pay me to play that game.
Did they do Oblivion, or was that outsourced?
Both.
Oblivion, I think, was one of theirs as well.
They published it,
but I didn't.
It was outsourced, though.
Didn't play that one. Dane, which have you played?
That's the sign of someone who had anxiety attack right before this recording that I have barely played any of these games. Isn't that delightful? Well, I've played Skyrim predominantly, is the one I played most. I've played some Fallout 4, and I've played less Fallout New Vegas.
And Sabre?
I have played probably about 50 hours of Skyrim total. I've played way too much Fallout 3. I could say Fallout New Vegas, even though we're saying it doesn't really count, but it's still there. I've played 4, and I've played a lot more hours than I care to even recount of 76.
I can actually throw my hat in the ring here and say that I've played a lot of Tamriel Online.
And I also I think I played about 12 hours of Oblivion, way after its relevance.
Was it ever relevant?
Yes.
Oh god.
So, with our gaming history established, maybe we should focus on what we think they did well. Let's start positive. Did the Bethesda RPGs do anything well? I
think, and take this liberally because it's going to be a big topic of something that's been very popular recently. They did have quite good open world elements before open world was a very popular thing. They did allow the player to do whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
I always did like that, like Fallout 3 or Fallout whatever. So you get out of the vault, you don't have to follow that quest line. You can go straight the other way and fuck off halfway across the wasteland and literally just... It's like, oh wait, I need to go save that potato baby. 450 hours in.
Oh no, I have a child?
I mean, I think that is a good point. Like, these days, open world RPG games are 10 to a shilling, aren't they? They are
shilling.
They're everywhere, though. That's the what?
A dime a dozen.
That dime a dozen. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, I just couldn't remember what that was.
He's just recalling his old days, you know.
Is it bad that I remember that probably better because I'm working with American currency?
A dime a dozen, then. If we must be American. Yeah, they're open world RPGs are everywhere now. I mean, there's a Ghost Recon one, and there's going to be a Sonic one, and there's Genshin, and there's
the
everything.
Final Fantasy 15 and 14.
14's an MMO, you can get away with it.
Yeah, so they're everywhere. Whereas I say back in the day, back in
my day.
back in the late 2000s, shall we say, the naughty. They're being called the naughties.
It is called the naughties, yes.
That's just the 2000s, right?
I just prefer
That's
the
everything
2000s.
which is from like 2000 to 2010 is the naughties.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, 2000 to 2020, I think.
It just makes it sound like we're putting the year over our laps and giving it a damn good spanking.
It deserves it.
Deserves it.
Yes, Daddy time. I've been bad. Punish me. No one clipped that.
Yeah, back in the late noughties, pretty much the only RPGs that were common. I'm not going to say the only ones that are around because I'm sure there were probably the odd one about. But the only ones which were like widespread appeal-wise were Oblivion and Fallout 3.
Bethesda definitely has.
Morrowind, one of those.
Yeah, Morrowind was one of theirs as well.
Because I've never played it, but I watched it, and there was some weird stuff in that game. Like, one of my friends showed me there was a glitch with books, where you could get a book, and they didn't have gravity, so you could just let it go and sit there. So if you had enough books in your inventory, you could create a stairway to heaven.
Oh, it's like the infamous like physics engine issue where you can just go, and I grab this, and I go, whoop! But,
The whole...
yeah.
In Skyrim, if you find one of those little vegetable carts and you push it against a wall for long enough, you'll get shot into the skybox.
Yeah. I would say Bethesda does seem to have a bit of an MO, which is open world. And
Well, you say that, but maybe we should point out some other Bethesda games that they've released. They've released quite a few Star Trek games.
oh god, when was that relevant?
They've released the new Wolfensteins are theirs.
Was that Youngblood and stuff like that?
Youngblood, New Order, etc., etc. And there was something else as well. The Wolfensteins, Star Trek Legacy,
Doom Eternal.
I
the
should
Doom
remember
games.
that, actually, yeah.
So, I would argue that perhaps open world RPG is not their MO, but I would argue that it's perhaps how they got popular.
Okay. I'm going to change from MO to it is what they're best known for and it's what they advertise the most.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Although I think we could pare that down to even Skyrim is what they're known for, and Skyrim is what they advertise the most.
They did Dishonored.
Oh, they did Dishonored.
They also did Quake. That's an old game.
Mm.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So something I think Bethesda also does well is that they do create, at least for Fallout 3 and for Skyrim for me, is that they do create interesting environments. Like the map that they end up creating is always nice to explore.
Oh.
Like even though most of Fallout 3's map is destroyed, it does fit the post-apocalyptic
They're good at
feel.
atmosphere.
They are good at it. And I think Fallout 3's environment fits the post-apocalypse a lot more than Fallout 4's did. Fallout 4 was just a bit gaudy and a bit camp.
It was one of the things, because I don't know why, but just for a while, like, you know, the whole more brighter colours kind of like cell shady thing, and I feel like they were trying to like steal off of that a little bit because it became stupid popular. And I just never liked how vibrant and bright and pulled through all the colours were in Fallout 4, because like a lot of people complained about the gritty like layer, you know, greens and browns and everything. It's a fucking nuclear wasteland. What do you want? A lush rainforest?
And if you look at Fallout 1 or 2, they're not exactly colourful.
No.
Well, they're barely graphics anymore.
What else did they do that's good?
I mean, I'm going to give them this. They do set up lore nicely. They do a good setup for lore. I'm probably going to elaborate on that later whenever we say about what don't they do well.
Just one thing, like, because I've played quite a lot of, like, you know, the roleplay style games and stuff like that when it comes to things like KOTOR, you know, Knights of the Old Republic, and stuff. And in the past, through some of those that I've played, it does feel very much like your behavior, your alignment and stuff really doesn't affect as much as it should. And I've always appreciated in Fallout that if you make a character that is dumb, has like 1 intelligence, it shines through in your dialogue choices. If you are an evil asshole, it shines through in your dialogue choices. And I've always appreciated that a lot, because There are a lot of games that don't lean into that enough.
See, that's one of the reasons why I didn't like Fallout 4. Because it's impossible to be an evil bastard.
And also, in Fallout 4, it'll give you a dialogue which is like, hey, do you want a spoon? It's like, stab you in the face instead. It's like, that's not what I clicked, you bastard!
Yes, the conversation dialogue tree in most Bethesda games was great. You had distinct, clear options, and there was like usually 6 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Fallout 4, it was just 4 options. 3 of them is yes.
3 of them is yes, but not in the way that you expected it to be yes.
And then basically the karma system got completely neglected.
Again, when it comes, especially like, I feel as time has gone on, it's only getting worse and worse and worse when it comes to like Bethesda's games with the leveling system. And I don't know if it's just because gamers are getting more lazy or they think they are or something, but the leveling system in 3 I thought was incredible. I love the way it was all broken down, kind of like, you know, D&D 3.5. You have big guns, small guns, energy weapons, explosives, and then like as they went on to the next game, it was just guns. And a lot of things were squeezed together, but then they started adding in like the perks, like and then they went on to the next game and it was just the cards, and then the next game again, it's just all just about your cards and your special, and you've got to, like, with 76, like, oh, I need, you know, White Knight 1, 2, and 3 so I can do this, and it's like, and it's just, I hate that. I really hate that.
It's like you're looking for your best in slot.
Basically, and...
It's an actual term, don't give me that look.
And so, yeah, basically, that is probably one of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to the Fallout games with Bethesda, is they're getting lazier in the systems that are within them, I find, when it's player interaction stuff.
Which seems strange, because Skyrim is almost too much.
Oh, there's constellation stuff for leveling each individual...
Constellation, base stats, all the stepping stones.
There are some skill trees in Skyrim I just never touch. Because I don't use illusion magic. I don't use conjuration magic.
But conjuration is big.
I don't use, you know, the shield, the blocking with shield one. I don't use shields ever. Which I actually think there's another problem with the RPGs, is that you inevitably gravitate to one single style. And that's all you do. Like for me on Skyrim, it's always magic in one hand, big sword in other, or a bow. And in Fallout games, it's always guns only. I never touch the melee weapon.
Oh my god, the person called Fletcher likes bows.
Very funny.
I mean, it's Skyrim. They kind of make it too easy to be good with bows. That, I will admit. Because there is the whole meme of everybody becomes a sneaky rogue with a bow. Or whatever the thing is. And it's kind of like, it is kind of true. There are just certain points where even if you have low skill, as long as you're crouched and you're far enough away, you can kill pretty much anything you want with a bow.
But fireball.
Or fireballs. Yeah.
Well, fireball, I always found had a kind of a crappy range. And
oh, it does. I just like memeing.
That's why I was like, the biggest meme is the bow in Skyrim. Any bow in Skyrim doesn't matter. Because even if you've got low sneak, as long as you are sneaking and the thing doesn't actually see you when you shoot it, your sneak level's up stupid quick.
Yeah.
I actually can't even remember what the original point was, but okay.
The original point was how the leveling systems in each of the games is progressively getting weaker and weaker.
Yeah.
We've verged towards negative again. We were trying to stay positive, weren't we?
It's really that difficult to see positive in Bethesda.
I'm not going on about that. Like, I will say, like, I was actually quite surprised at how many different kinds of weapons and stuff there are in Skyrim. Because, like, honestly, I stopped paying attention after I got 2 glass maces. Like...
Yeah, because you start at iron and steel, and then you have dwarven, elven...
The glass stuff is elven, I think.
Glass is elven. Yeah. Ebony, daedric, dragonbone...
Orcish, you've got
Orcish. And then within those there are certain... you've got the Draugr ancient Nordic stuff. And then you've got like the Skyforge steel stuff, which is unique as well. And then you've got all the unique weapons which have their own special skins and stuff on top of that.
Daybreak.
Exactly.
That'll be in.
So they kind of like I did when I really actually started looking into it. The variety, obviously, it's everything has pretty much the same kind of weapons in it, but the uniqueness of how each one looks and all stuff like that. It's there's a lot more to it than I actually thought originally, because I was like, oh, there's only like 10 different start. Well, I mean, like, I think it was like I thought it was only like 6 or 7 at first, but I think there's a lot more than that. And then I would like look at them, especially like some of the older games, and it's just like, huh, actually, there's a lot here. I probably should have back in the day put more time into Skyrim, but it was just kind of like, I think I was like one of the only people at the time that Skyrim didn't really keep drawing me in. I put my 50-something hours in, and I was kind of like, whatever.
I think I played it for about 20 hours straight when I first got it. It certainly drew me in.
I wasn't allowed to play it when I first got it because someone else was playing it.
But, like, so I think I was a bit late to Skyrim myself. I don't think I played it when it was new. It was like maybe a year or two after. But it wasn't a bad game for any measure. I think most of the issues had already been ironed out when I started, so I can't really complain about that, but it doesn't excuse the fact that any of them were goddamn well there when you're a multi-million-plus dollar company and you're still releasing games that seem as if they weren't beta tested for more than, like, a day.
Yes. Isn't it good they've stopped doing that? Fallout 76.
It's like when we get Fallout fucking 5 or whatever, and it's basically just a black screen. That's the whole game.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for Elder Scrolls 6 so we can finally have Skyrim Grandma just being part of it.
Oh, what? Anything positive? Any other positives, Dane, that you can think of?
They do work well with some of the people who make their products look good, like Skyrim Grandma being one of the big ones, and they've had her in to do like voice lines and facial scanning and everything for Elder Scrolls 6, whenever that comes out.
Yeah, while Bethesda can't take all the credit, I think we do have to accept they do support modding and the community. Unlike some people, Frontier,
you might want to get that cough checked out.
I know, it's a terrible cough, isn't it? Frontier. Yeah, Bethesda are very openly in support of people making stuff for their games. And it's that is a rarity, I think, these days. So many games companies kind of want to stand away from modders.
This thing, they know it's there and they really don't like it, but they kind of allow it to within reason, but they make it difficult. And then you get other companies who are like, we don't like this, we're going to put rules against it, but we know everybody's already doing it. And then 5 years down the line, they go, nah, we're just going to get rid of all of that. And
cough, 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 Final Fantasy 14, cough, cough, cough,
VR chat.
2, VR chats.
Yes.
There's a list that goes on and on.
So yeah, Bethesda is at least doing that right.
What's the harm in it? Because it's not an online multiplayer game. Obviously, discounting 76, that's a whole different ballgame. But that's basically a dead fish already. But we'll leave that one alone because it barely even counts as a Fallout game at the end of the day, in my opinion.
I think we can talk about Fallout 76 perhaps in the same vein as Fallout 4. Because they are basically the same game.
Same engine.
Yeah, same engine, same generation, I think.
Even though they lied and said it was an entirely brand new engine. Which, yeah, not a good move there.
There is one thing I'm going to say about the modding thing. Whenever the modding came out for the Xbox users for Skyrim, Bethesda did a bit of a bad thing. They basically turned around and was like, anything you make for this or anything you mod for this is owned by Bethesda.
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, yeah, that's how the creation club thing works.
Yeah.
You don't have the rights to your own. There was also a thing, I believe, where there was content that was, like, I believe, like, modded content was supposedly stolen by them or something like that in the past. Like, and that wasn't from the creation club, that was from other sites with mods and things on, which, like, just because it's online for people to download doesn't mean you can take it and claim it. Like, that's not how that works.
That's like if someone took Inigo and then just put it straight in Skyrim, like, well, we made this new character.
So, without necessarily talking about Fallout 4 or 76, what did games like Skyrim and Fallout 3 and New Vegas do that was not good?
Can I get onto my lore topic?
Go on.
As I said before, they're really good at setting up lore and giving the world depth. It's then actually fleshing that out. They have all these stories, for example, they have all these stories in the game. Not naming any games, because all of them kind of do this. And they have all these like intrinsic plot lines and stuff, and then it's like, oh yes, this is really interesting. I wonder how, wait, where's the rest of it? And they just kind of sometimes just drop like these really key plot lines, and then it's like, yeah, that's done. And it's like, but we didn't even get to the end. It's like, no, we didn't. Like, no, you left it on a cliffhanger. See, it's literally on the cliff, and I'm like, no, that doesn't exist. Ignore that.
Yeah, no, Skyrim is a big... I think the ending of Skyrim is rubbish.
Oh god, I just remember why I stopped playing Skyrim.
Spoilers for those of you who have not finished Skyrim, but if you haven't finished it by this point in time, you're never going to.
No!
You kill Alduin, the dragon,
How dare
which deals with the dragon problem, and then the Civil War quest is wrapped up with like 2 sieges that you do, depending on which faction you choose, and then at the end, that's it. Nothing really changes apart from in one of the castles you'll have the leaders that you deposed eating, and they'll be a bit grumpy if they see you. That's it. Actually, if you wander around Skyrim, it doesn't feel like there's a civil war going on at all.
No.
Yeah.
Like, there are camps about, but it's not like anyone's actually doing any warring. They're just kind of chilling in the forest.
We made a new shed, we're gonna chill.
Yeah.
There is a point here that I'd love to bring up. In the Dark Brotherhood quest line, one of the quests is to kill the Emperor of...
Yeah, you kill the Emperor.
You kill the Emperor! And
that does nothing at all.
not even that. It's yes, the Emperor is visiting from overseas. The boat is there the entire time in game. It never leaves.
No, it's not. No, they've changed that. The boat only shows up.
Originally, it was always there.
The boat only shows up now when you actually get the quest.
Well done.
But, I mean, you raise a good
But they
point.
never mention it.
I mean, you kill the fucking Emperor and nothing happens as a result.
Yeah, there is.
And in fact, when you go to kill him, he's all sort of noble about it. He knew he was going to be assassinated. Yes, just, I'm going to turn around and look out this window while you stab me in the back, but do me a favour, kill the guy that sent you to kill me as well.
And then you're like, if you pay me double, I'll not kill you.
There was definitely the element of a good story here. Just, it was handled in the most simplistic fashion possible.
Yeah. And I'm sorry for all you people who aren't into politics, but killing the Emperor is not gonna go by easily and have everything go the same.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a power struggle, and the Imperials would just crumble. But no, don't worry about that. Doesn't matter, doesn't exist.
What was the original question again? For my brains.
What things did Fallout 3, New Vegas, and Skyrim do that was bad before we even get to Fallout 4 and 76?
Well, I thought it was bad. Because I always appreciate the fact that it, like, so let's just talk Fallout 3. I think they did a bit better in New Vegas and stuff like that. But I always appreciated the fact that special weapons were there. But I hated the fact that basically most of them were just a very slight recolor of an already existing weapon. It didn't feel very special looking at it, even though the guns were great.
Yeah, New Vegas was better with that because every unique weapon had a unique skin. And some of Skyrim's were unique in skin and design, but most of those are the Daedric stuff.
When at least they kind of learned something when they were looking at that. It's like, if you're going to find a unique person's gun, it should have like some engravings on it or some, you know, be a bit war-torn, be customized towards what that person was, rather than just, it's a ever so slightly more dirty hunting rifle.
Or in some cases with some of the weapons, it is exactly the same.
Most of the time it would be like, I do think it was like a very slight recolor. But there was, again, obviously some that were just completely different and stuff like that. Gotta love the good old Lincoln's repeater.
Oh yeah. But then they just... Once you got the repeater rifle from the DLC, then it wasn't unique anymore.
But they shot an entirely different ammo type.
They did.
And they were nowhere near as accurate or powerful.
True.
Because that was the whole thing with the Lincoln repeater. It had pinpoint accuracy. There was no bullet drop. There was no... It was literally, you are aiming here, you're shooting here.
It was basically an energy weapon.
So, I'm trying to think, is there anything I think that those three did badly?
Which hasn't already been mentioned.
So is it specifically like what Oblivion, Skyrim, Skyrim, Fallout 3 and 4, or 3 and
I always
Vegas?
thought in terms of their healing mechanics, they were a bit screwed up.
Pause.
Just,
Eat 12 cheese wheels.
yeah, it's just like you're in the middle of a firefight. Oh, my health is a bit low. Give me a second. Yeah, devours the entirety of my inventory of healing.
Hang on a second, let me pull up my ARM computer and make myself
Stab it
into a
with-
pincushion.
Yeah, stab it with a sim, and then you carry on the fight. I get that you want people to be able to heal. I just think allowing them to do it in the middle of combat makes combat too easy.
I mean, you could be the bloody Baron of Cheese and just go, I demand health!
And yes, they did change that, I think, in Fallout 4 survival mode. I think you can't heal.
Survival mode? Yes, they did.
Stimpaks heal over time rather than a direct heal thing.
Yeah.
So you don't get the initial
Which makes more
advantage.
sense anyway.
It does. But even in general, I think the way the games deal with damage is a bit naff. Because in Skyrim, like, you can be smacked round the face with a mace, and it doesn't do anything but lower your health. Yeah. Like, it's not like, oh, I've always believed that the crippled limb system for Fallout should have been in Skyrim.
Yeah.
And it always was strange to me that Skyrim did not have the same body jibbing stuff that Fallout did.
Again, that was another problem I had with Fallout 4 is being crippled didn't matter because it was healed, what, a minute later? Less? Like, you get crippled and it's just sort of like, I don't need to bother healing that because I know the game's going to do it for me.
We're on to Fallout 4 again.
Yes, I think so, why did Fallout 4...
I was actually going to point out something else.
Oh, go on.
NPC pathing.
Oh, God. Get out of the way, dog meat! You're in the way of the door.
Or, I'm just going to disarm this one landmine and then work on to the next one. Dog meat walks down corridor.
And sets them all off.
I love the way that it was like, anything about these games specifically, I'm like, here, have one for the entirety of Bethesda games.
What's that? I'm gonna go... what was it in New Vegas? Oh, this enemy's running at me. Let me jump on this boulder. Turns around, runs in the complete opposite direction.
The couriers in Skyrim, though.
Yeah, the couriers always seem to be able to find you, no matter how many of them I kill.
Sorry, what? Psychopath says what?
Right. So, Fallout 4 and 76. Why do we slag them off so much?
Well,
What did they do that was wrong?
number one, with 76 specifically, no game that releases should have over 1,000 unique bugs on day one alone.
It did launch in a shockingly broken state.
Even
for a modern game,
Hmm.
it launched in a shockingly broken state.
I would go even farther and just go straight past broken and say they probably released the fucking beta version. That's how bad it was.
Well, yeah.
I mean, beta would still,
Oh, it might be actually be more stable. Yeah, you're right. That was probably the alpha
that would
version.
imply there was at least a little bit of testing. That game honestly feels like they didn't have a testing team.
And then for months...
Where are the alpha testers?
They updated it, and then what was it? They updated something, and then it broke the thing they had fixed previously in a different patch. Like, every update seemed to break the game more.
The problem is everything in that game was kind of broken. The animations would wig out, the lighting would freak out, you would fall through the map, the NPCs would disappear, just you name it, it was happening. And when I was playing with like friends and stuff like that, I've probably put my time in there. I would say I've probably put close to 150, 200 hours into the game, so I can talk as much shit as I want about this. I experienced it, and it was awful. There was times where one of the main things to do in the game, which is drop a nuke on a specific place so you can fight the big bad end game,
That was
it would kill the server. The server would literally go down if you dropped a nuke.
And if the nuke was dropped, it then killed the countdown mechanism which completely broke the nukes, meaning that no one could ever launch the one ever again.
No, that was when
that was the New Year.
That was the New Year thing. Although oddly enough, the idea of like NPCs disappearing and the T-posing and falling through the map and everything else.
Because I mean, they
which Bethesda, you know, are we talking about Fallout 4 or Fallout 76 at that point? Because Fallout 4 has exactly the same problems.
Because the one issue as well is, well, I'm talking about before they did the update, so you actually had towns with NPCs in. So there were NPCs around, but they were very few and far between. Or if you're going to like White Springs, I think it's called, which is like the hub area, the hotel with all the shops and everything. If those guys disappear, you're fucked. Because if you need to buy stuff, then there's not really anywhere else to go to buy stuff. So then you're forced to go and try and trade with players, and you know players are just going to scumbag you. They ain't interested in creating a healthy economy. They're just like, oh, I can charge you 4 times the price because the guy at the thing at White Springs is gone again? Okay.
Talking about Fallout 4 specifically, it's the only Fallout game I have not finished. And
I'm not inclined to.
The story just doesn't drag me in. It's a really lousy story. You spend, like, the whole idea of you going and finding your kid, that's fine, but you don't ever get enough time to build up an emotional connection to them. And within, you know what Bethesda games are like, within 20 minutes, your quest log is flipping packed with stuff to do.
It's like, I've just got out of this vault and I'm really I'm going to go and try and find the baby, and the robot's completely going to tell me to look around this absolutely destroyed place. And then I'm going to walk down the road and find this one person, and oh wait, now I'm going to go build 4 towns, I'm going to go kill all these people, I'm going to go do all these missions, I'm going to meet all of these factions, which all of them are basically boring. And it's like, the main point of everything just seems to not matter. The characters are unrelatable and unlikable. Like, honestly, I thought the one storyline I thought was kind of amusing was the Mama Murphy thing.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, not very long-lived.
No.
Literally.
I disliked all of the factions in Fallout 4. The Minutemen are naive and kind of pointless, because they're only there to make settlement building a reason to exist. The settlement system was put in the cheapest way possible. Not only is it broken still in some ways, but there's no reason for it. Like, building a settlement is just a waste of time and resources.
And plus also as well, it never looks, I want to say natural, but it's not obviously natural. It never looks right, no matter what you do, unless you have the building system absolutely modded into some other system.
Fletcher.
It still, like, to somewhat of a reason, just doesn't look good. It just seems as if everything you build kind of stands out like a goddamn sore thumb all the time.
Because it doesn't blend.
And their Railroad, as the other faction, they're just a waste of space and only there because get mentioned in Fallout 3.
Ancient Railroad Brotherhood of Steel.
But the Brotherhood of Steel, they've turned into the Enclave. They're just a bunch of xenophobic fucks.
I mean, they always were.
And for people who are about to say, oh, well, there were xenophobic fucks in Fallout 1. Yeah, but the canonical end of Fallout 1 states that they actually open their doors and become a lot more willing to talk to people and become a think tank in the region.
That was kind of like the thing with, what was it, the Fallout 3, they were, other than the ones they actually had in Fallout 3, but like the General Brotherhood of Steel are still assholes that will kill the super mutant ghouls on site because of the mutations and all that stuff. And
I just think any sort of growth that the Brotherhood received in Fallout 1 and Fallout 3 was ignored in Fallout 4 just to make them xenophobic dicks. And if you want to have xenophobic dicks in your story, just put the Enclave in there. Don't put the Brotherhood of Steel in there.
Do they
because they
still
used to
exist?
The Enclave, technically no, because you kill them in Fallout 3, but there's no reason why you can't bring them back for Fallout 4.
I mean, I'm sure there was enough of them out in the field spreading across the country to make a new faction or something.
They're just very uninteresting.
It also won't be the first time that Fallout has completely destroyed continuity.
Yeah, and Fallout 4 destroys its own continuity so much as well.
So, speaking of Fallout 4 and Fallout 76, one thing that they both have in common, which I adore, Day 1 patches. Does anyone remember how big the Fallout 76 Day 1 patch was?
No.
The game itself was about 30 gig. The Day 1 patch was 55 gig. I'm rounding up, it was 54.6.
I don't think the Day 1 patch for Fallout 4 was that bad.
It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't Flight Simulator bad.
But it was still bad for a game at that time. Like, it was, I think at that point, one of the largest Day 1 patches people had seen.
But this is just getting us back onto the topic that the games should not have been released in such a shockingly unfinished state.
Yeah.
Which seems to be a running trend with a lot of gaming companies nowadays, not just Bethesda. It's like, you have to crunch, get this game that should take 3.5 years done in 2.
Yeah, I mean, what was it that I was talking about the other day? Whenever I was watching, oh yeah, Dying Light 2. It was like, we boast like 250 hours of gameplay, and I was like, you can finish the story in like 10.
Well,
if you're speedrunning, maybe 1.
The problem is, though, a lot of games now, they're all falling victim to the Ubisoft formula where the story will be 10, 15, maybe 20 hours long, side questing will be like 70 hours, and then there'll be 120 hours of collectibles.
Yeah.
And they're all crap.
Anyone want to go get some seeds from Breath of the Wild?
The Institute storyline is basically that as well in Fallout 4. Because you can get to it very quickly, and then it finishes itself up very fast.
I just felt like it never mattered anyway.
It doesn't. The ending of Fallout 4 is identical pretty much for every faction.
It just changes who's in charge.
You just change who is inevitably the dictator of the region for yourself. The Institute storyline, however, is even worse in the fact that you're supposed to become the leader of the Institute, but you get one decision, and that's it. As leader of the Institute, you get one decision, and then that's it, post the end. That's not becoming a leader of anything.
That's being fed options and then saying, well, I have one option, so...
Yeah, and the option is basically between focusing on weapons or focusing on synths. That's it.
So...
What was the whole... sorry, getting a bit off topic, but what was the whole deal with, people being taken and being replaced with simps? I never kind of got why.
They were trying to gain information and trying to control the outside. It was... I don't get the point of what they were doing either. They were just a bunch of scientists gone nuts, really.
They were bored of growing ears on the back of mice, so they started making their own people.
Yeah, I don't understand it either.
Because that was the one thing that always struck me. It's kind of like, why? Because whenever you see you will go to a little farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. There's nothing around it, and it's like, I think that Billy Bob Jr.'s been replaced with a synth. He doesn't seem right anymore. He's acting all strange, and it's like, but why? Out here, there's nothing here.
Yeah, it's all about control, I think.
The reason, as said by Bethesda themselves and the Wikipedia, they were used to spy on people of the Commonwealth, even abducting and replacing them with Sims in order to research society on the surface and see if Sims could pass as humans. Not only were they used for data harvesting, but they were also used to control the Commonwealth from the shadows.
Yes, it's just them trying to control it because they don't think that humanity can get along with each other without them interfering.
They had a god
or
complex.
Something. Yeah, they basically had a god complex like Doctor Who, but in Fallout 4, they're just a bunch of idiot scientists, really.
I feel like I was going to say something, but I kind of forgot what it was because of all the other badness.
So in the end, that's the main reason why I have never finished Fallout 4. I cannot pick a faction because they're all ridiculous and rubbish.
Yeah. I always felt like because obviously the railroad was there because they were mentioned previously in 3. I don't ever think they cropped up again. Not that I know. I don't remember them anyway.
Didn't the railroad used to be good people?
Well, they are good people in theory, but they're not really the world's most...
In Fallout 4, they're like dicks.
They're not. They're just not very well established in terms of their story. It's just, we want to save synths, let's go blow up everyone else.
Because that was the... It's... Because that... Obviously, because a lot of the time, like, if people are not paying attention, they don't actually realise that Fallout 4 is based way before all the others. So, yeah, it kind of gets a bit confusing.
Are you sure on that?
I'm fairly sure that Fallout 4...
I think it's set 10 years after the events of New Vegas.
After? I thought it was before.
I'm looking it up.
I thought that both 3 and New Vegas was set after the fact.
No, no, because the thingamajig in charge of the Brotherhood of Steel in Fallout 4 is in Fallout 3 as a child. So I think it's about 10 years after the events of Fallout New Vegas.
Okay. So pre-war, there was the pre-wars, and from 1000 to 1200 BC was Fallout 76, the original start of Fallout. Then, oh sorry, these are events in-game shit. Sorry. Chronological timeline. Fallout 76 is in the early 2100. Then it's Fallout, then Fallout Tactics, then Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, then 2, then 3, then New Vegas, then 4.
Yeah. So 4 is set after the events.
I always thought it was set sooner.
No.
Yeah, the first ever Fallout game in terms of chronology is Fallout 76.
How does that work, though?
Which is set in 2100, early 2100s.
Right.
Then Fallout original was 2161. Fallout Tactics was 2197. Fallout Brotherhood Steel was 2208. Then Fallout 2 was 2241. Fallout 3 was 2277. Fallout New Vegas was 2281. And then Fallout 4 was 2287.
Yeah.
So it was 6 years after New Vegas.
I always thought it was based sooner. That's like one thing, actually, when it comes to, again, back to Fallout 4. One of the things that kind of always disappoints me with the game, as well as obviously all the factions being basically potatoes at this point, like, they added in this new custom weapon system of pipe weaponry, and, like, they fleshed it out, they gave it a bunch of perks, they did a lot with it, they really tried to, like, flesh out, like, you know, the people out there, they can't all just have laser rifles and actual hunting rifles and assault rifles and whatever the hell else they want, so they make their own, which makes sense for the Wasteland, and they make it completely irrelevant before you've even left the vault.
Yeah.
Because the 10 mil is better than basically all of them.
The 10 mil is better than all of them. I didn't like the weapon modification crafting system in 4. Because it just felt like you got fewer weapons as a result.
Is it just me, or did in Fallout 4 did the word GAC seem to be kind of commonplace? Like, everyone was talking about the GAC.
I don't think the GEC ever gets mentioned. That's Fallout 3 you're thinking of.
I've never played Fallout 3 though.
Well, that's the only one where you are going to get the GEC. Fallout 2 and Fallout 3 were all about going to get a GEC. Never gets mentioned in Fallout 4.
Oh god, you just reminded me the one vault in, I think it's in New Vegas, where they accidentally triggered the GEC in the vault.
The mutated
Tree
people life spore thing. Yeah.
I never played that myself. I watched a friend quickly run through it to grab a specific item and leave. Like, he didn't really explore it. So I don't know what it's about fully, but I remember that, and I was like, huh. I was always curious what it would do in an enclosed space.
This brings us on to another thing I don't like about Fallout 4, actually.
Excellent!
The vaults. There are, 3, 4 in the region?
I don't know.
None of them have failed.
What?
In reality. In Fallout 3 and New Vegas, finding a vault was always interesting, because they all had a story about how they failed.
Mm-hmm.
And when you were going around those dead, destroyed vaults, which were all kind of dingy and grimy inside, it was actually kind of creepy.
Gary!
But they all had a good story. In Fallout 4, there are very few vaults.
There's 5,
and
including the one you start in.
yeah, and they don't really have much of a storyline to them. none of them have really properly failed. None of them are like all grimy and like creepy and stuff inside. They're all lit fine and they're all clean. And yeah, you got the starting vault, which is just a cryogenic freezing experiment.
Mm-hmm.
One of the vaults is still active. One of the vaults is occupied by a group of mobsters and doesn't really have a story to it. One of them is occupied by the gunners and you just learn it's a eugenics experiment. And one of them is a secret, I think was a secret bunker for the mayor of Boston. That's it.
So, in order, 114 was for high-ranking members of government, where the experiment was to ignore said members of government. 75 was for school children.
Yeah. That's the eugenics one.
81 was the development of a universal cure for every sickness known to humanity.
That's the vault that's still running.
95 was designed to house individuals who are addicted to drugs.
Oh yeah, the vault that breaks their law, because that vault has jet in it, even though jet is a post-war invention.
Yep.
Remember when I said about how Fallout 4 and 76 just completely break lore?
So yeah, the vaults are all kind of naff.
I mean, breaking their own laws kind of a thing that just happens all the time. Like, I hate this idea of you go into a building that's crumbled that clearly nobody has really been in, and you lockpick a safe, and you start like, why is there like 30 bottle caps in this safe? Like, why would anyone put these in here? And you start finding obviously like the drugs and other things, and it's like, this isn't clearly nobody has found this. Why is this shit even here? Which I get, obviously, just loopholes and things like that, but at the same time, it's like, you could put unique loopholes for unique, like, things like safes and otherwise.
The best bit of Fallout 4 was the glowing sea. And if more of the game was like the glowing sea, then it would be a better Fallout game.
Make it just much more intense, a lot more, like, mutations. Because fair enough, they added variety and stuff like that with the mutations as well, but I felt they could have done so much more.
I mean, the creature designs for Fallout 4 were amazing.
Oh,
the Deathclaws actually look
kind of terrifying.
Kind of terrifying now, as opposed to Fallout 3 in New Vegas, where they just kind of look like...
I don't
even... It's just kind of
at least
weird.
in New Vegas they added variety. It's not just Deathclaw. You actually had multiple different kinds. I appreciated at least a little bit of effort. Not even just that.
And in Fallout 4, it's good that the Mirelurks actually look like crabs now, as opposed to sort of anthropomorphized.
The Mirelurks give me nightmares.
Things. But yeah, if more of the game had been like the Glowing Sea, I mean, you are within visual distance of a nuke. It goes off over there. I mean, at the very start of the game, you are so close that in theory, you would probably be irradiated. I mean, that blast wave...
Yeah, all those people should have been dead.
It would have gone straight down the hole and it would have killed you.
Yeah, sorry. They would have died.
But
sorry.
That's close enough that that whole place would just be flattened.
Yeah.
And more of it should have looked like a glowing sea. Yes, maybe give us patches where it was not as damaged, maybe very far out. But then make the whole of the rest much more glowing sea.
Was the glowing sea ever really explained? Because obviously, like, the whole idea that this thing is slowly expanding, it's moving, and like, but why? Why does this...
It doesn't really get mentioned.
Like, this is just a condensed area of
It's just
radiation.
the corner of the map where everything is a bit more difficult. It doesn't feel post-apocalyptic. It's gone past post-apocalyptic to post-post-apocalyptic.
It does always kind of feel that it's like, oh, my Geiger counter's ticking. Let me just take some drugs and carry on.
Even then...
The radiation system in Fallout 4 sucked as well. It just lowers your health, as opposed to it being a separate bar, like it used to be. Sorry.
Thank you for taking the point I was just about to say.
Sorry. In Fallout 3 New Vegas, the radiation used to just be a separate bar, and the higher up it went, you would just get negatives. But it meant you could be...
You could instantly die.
Yeah, but it meant you could be semi-irradiated and still tank some shots.
And people would comment on it.
Yeah, But then there were certain perks that required you to be slightly irradiated to work, and it didn't feel like you were weakening your character's chance of surviving to do it.
Oh,
Isn't that the Fallout 76 meta?
what?
Be as irradiated as humanly possible?
My build kind of required it, because having your radiation up so high limits your health pool down really low, and my build was bloodied, and the lower my health is, the higher my damage is, so that was just my build particularly.
So as we come to the end of this, because we have been going for nearly an hour now,
Boo.
let's try to come up with one thing from each of us that we would like to see in the next proper Fallout game.
Just Fallout or Bethesda game? Because that's what this was about.
Okay, next Bethesda game then. Let's open it up.
Our next Bethesda game. We're not talking about the one coming out next year, are we?
Is it out of no? Their sci-fi one that they're doing.
Space one actually kind of looks pretty cool. Kind of.
I want them to return to actual proper conversation trees, like we have in BioWare games, like they used to do. Proper conversation dialogue trees with proper sort of Starfield, that's it. With proper like skill checks in it, you know, the ability to persuade or to convince or whatever, to lie, etc., etc. Actual proper dialogue. And get rid of that flippin' voiced character. Just get rid of them. It added nothing to Fallout 4.
I think it detracted.
It pulled out so much. Just get rid of it and just give us the same dialogue system that you used to do, which was perfect.
Yeah, the same thing that Dragon Age has been doing, the same thing that KOTOR did.
Mass Effect.
It just works. It just works well because, like, especially the more, like, say that you have more perks, more time, more higher levels, you've leveled into specific things, and just you start building up more and more and more and more choices of things to say and do based on basically what you've leveled your character into and what you've experienced and stuff. It makes your character more your own, rather than feeling like you're just playing someone else's character and you're just along for the ride.
Dane, what would you want to see?
I'd want to see NPCs not being such handicaps. Like, there's parts where they will literally tie your legs up and force you to not move a single centimeter. And there's other times that they can just clear an entire building by themselves, like, oh, you wanted to do that? Oh, too bad.
Yeah, NPCs that actually feel like characters in of themselves.
Where they won't just be like one-man armies, but at the same time they also won't be completely useless.
And they aren't just there to be a pack mule.
So, I think what I'm saying is, I want decent NPC AI.
Sabre?
I just like, I think one of the main things that I want legendary weapons to feel legendary again, rather than just being, oh, I killed a legendary, I got another drop of this thing has 10% ghoul resistance against the damage. Like, I find as the games have gone on, the legendaries have become boring. Especially in Fallout 4, I just don't appreciate anything they give you most of the time, because it's either just so far beyond busted, or just completely useless. So I want them to kind of go back to like Fallout New Vegas and stuff like that, where if you get a legendary special gun, it feels more special and legendary and stuff, because honestly I don't appreciate what they tried to do with 4.
No, because Skyrim, you had the Daedric weapons. I loved the Mace of Molag Bal. I just went around smashing people around the head with a massive mace. Daedric fucking mace. So yeah, definitely I would prefer... The legendaries in Fallout 4 sucked as well. You just end up getting him. It's like a pipe pistol that delivers like 25% more damage to fucking Mila or something. Sell it. You never used them because they so rubbish. Right. So, that's what we think about Bethesda RPGs. Let us know in the comments what you think about Bethesda RPGs, which games you've played, what you think they did bad, what you think they did good, and what you'd like to see in future Bethesda RPG titles. Next time, I decided our topic is going to be a little bit different.
Oh no.
Next time, we are going to do the game, come up with our own video game idea, which we are going to present to the audience to vote on which they think is the best video game idea.
Oh god.
But that will be the next tea with Triclaw next month. Don't forget, if you haven't already done so, to like, subscribe. If you're new here, definitely subscribe, as we're trying to get to that 1,000 sub target. And don't forget to like the video, as it does help us with the algorithm. But for now, it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And take it easy, everyone.
See you later, everyone. Bye-bye.